Hi, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the webinar between the Litter Club and EcoMatcher. Now, we've just logged in to go live and we're now streaming live on Facebook as well. I want to thank everybody for taking time out this evening to join us here to have a webinar. Now, our webinar tonight is the Litter Club with the EcoMatcher, and we are the Malaysian ambassador. The Litter Club is the Malaysian ambassador for EcoMatcher. And it's with great pleasure that I introduce to you the founder of EcoMatcher, Mr. Baz Franson. Now, Baz is based in Hong Kong, and he's going to explain to you tonight a little bit more
Ya,
about what
selain Zoom
EcoMatcher
pun
is
dia lagi.
all about. So if I could just make sure that everybody stays on mute while we go through. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat box out to the side and we will answer them as we go along. So just to let you know who I am, my name is Josh O'Neill. I'm the founder of the Litter Club. We're based here in Kuala Lumpur and in Singapore. We do a lot of work in regards to beach cleanups, river cleanups, and reducing plastic in our marine ecosystem. But one of the things that we also look at doing is how we can regenerate and rejuvenate our planet at the same time that we are trying to clean up the mess that we've already made. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Baz, who will tell us a little bit more about EcoMatcher and what EcoMatcher does.
Thank you, Josh. And they're all from wherever you call in. Thank you for joining. My name is Bas. I'm originally from the Netherlands. I live in Hong Kong, or I'm in Asia for 26 years or so. And I'm delighted to be with you and to share a little bit what I've been doing in the past couple of years and how we may be able to do something together in order to build a better world. So let me share with you a couple of slides. I will not take too much of your time, but probably like 10 minutes or so. So let's get started. Just to set the stage, wherever you are in the world, we're all being confronted with COVID, and that is disastrous in many, many aspects. I think what people may not realize is that not only will a recession be following the COVID pandemic, but what's going to be even more dramatic is the climate change or the climate crisis which is coming our way. And I will not elaborate too much on all the disaster which is coming our way, but if we are not changing course of direction, something is going to be very, very bad for all of us. Maybe not so much for the current generation, but certainly for our kids and their kids. So something needs to happen. The good thing is that something can be done. Tree planting. Scientists have said globally that massive proper tree planting is a fantastic way to do something about the climate crisis. They call it has mind-blowing results. The problem today with tree planting is that not very many both people as well companies are involved and engaged in tree planting. And one of the reasons is that tree planting is not transparent. A lot of organizations, they claim that they plant tree, but do they? And not only that transparency is not there, also trees or tree planting is not being offered to companies or schools as a solution. So that's where EcoMatcher comes in. There we go. So that's what we do. So what do we do as a company? We are a technology company and we bring transparency to tree planting. And by doing that, we encourage companies, schools, to integrate and use tree planting and integrate that in the business. So what we do in short, we are planting and partnering with foundations from around the world who are planting trees. With the funding we provide, we know through technology everything of every tree which is being planted. The location, the species, the date of planting, who is the farmer, etc. We also offer our customers a complete digital platform, which enables them to look at the trees they have adopted or planted, travel to trees, or use gifting tools to gift trees for all kinds of purposes, like birthday or rewards or gifts. Everybody and every tree can be virtually be visited. And I give you an example of a little sneak peek of our platform of how that looks like. So for example, here now tonight we are traveling virtually today to a tree which was planted in Uganda. You can see not only a picture of the tree, you can also see how the tree will look like in a couple of years from now, but also you can see who is the farmer. You can even send a message to the farmer and say, thank you for your great work. On the left side of your screen, we have built in some digital features. You can, for example, see what is the weather, is it night or day? But there are also fun tools we built in, for example, chatbot technology like Siri or Alexa, where you can ask a couple of questions. So for example, let's say this particular tree, we want to ask, how are you? And the tree will respond, I'm doing great. I love my life. Feel free to ask questions. Where do you live? And the tree will say probably something like, well, I live in Uganda. Where do you live? Well, I live in Hong Kong. And the tree will respond, I've never been in Hong Kong. How cool is that? So by bringing in technologies like chatbot technology, we can bring fun and engagement in tree planting, which is cool for customers, for schools, for students, etc. Our customers, global customers, using our platform and our services for meaningful gifting. So instead of giving somebody a plastic pen, now they can plant a tree on behalf of somebody and give that to them digitally. We work with companies using trees for rewards programs, for example, rewarding people finishing a survey, a market survey. We work with loyalty companies who are using trees for encouraging customers to do something. The more you shop, the more trees you get. We work with companies who are planting through EcoMatcher complete forests. And as we know, of every tree in the forest, everything, you can gift those trees to people in a school or people in a company, and people can be part of the company forest or the school forest, which gives them a sense of belonging. And you can use trees, of course, for transparent carbon offsetting. So today we are, I don't know why my screen is not working. Okay, here. So we're working since the past 2 years globally with quite a number of customers, ranging from market research companies to schools, to banks, to investment companies, to companies like Microsoft and Facebook, oil companies like Shell, hotel companies like Mandarin, and so forth. And it's growing very, very rapidly. In the weeks to come, you will see some big announcements of EcoMatcher partnering with global, very large companies. So where do we plant? We don't plant ourselves. We plant with people who know how to plant properly and planting the right tree at the right time in the right place. So today we are in 9, soon in 12 different countries, ranging from countries in Central and South America, Africa, India, and Asia. You probably, because this is a Malaysian, let's say, group of folks on the call, you don't see Malaysia here yet. We're working on that. Malaysia is coming to you very soon in the second half of this year. You also see here a partnership in Ecuador in South America. This actually is a partnership with the United Nations, which we're going to announce in the next 2 weeks. So we're growing and growing. And all those foundations, they have gone through a vetting process. So they need to be, for example, in sustainable forestry. They need to have a track record. They need to have links with universities and so forth. Because those folks, they really need to know, we need to trust them that they do the right thing on the ground. Now, how does this work? Just very little. Technology-wise, we have developed an app which we give in the hands of those foundations. So whether a tree is being planted in Peru, in India, or in Nepal, every tree is being captured with this app called Treecorder. We capture with that app the species, the location, the date of planting, etc. All that data is collected in the phone and uploaded to a cloud-based platform in Amazon, a very, it's sitting in the cloud, where we get all that data from the trees. We check all that data. We see whether a good job has been done, and customers have access to that data to make use of that, to look at the trees, but also gift trees, for example, or something else. Every tree can be virtually visited. I showed you that already on the web, on so-called what we call a web app. But also we have developed a consumer app, the EcoMatcher app. You can find in the App Store and the Google Play Store. That app gives you the possibility to track trees you have gotten or you have purchased in the palm of your hand. You can, for example, make a selfie with your tree and share on social media. You can see how trees relate to the carbon footprint of your flight or driving a motorbike or driving a car. You are being updated with the latest sustainability blogs, let's say articles which we publish on sustainability and on climate change, and so forth and so forth. Last, for the very tech-savvy people among us tonight, we're also on the blockchain. So every tree which we capture is being, recorded on the blockchain, which basically means that we make the platform as transparent as possible. So this, in a nutshell, is what EcoMatcher does. We're very privileged and proud to partner with Josh and Melissa in Malaysia to see whether we can have opportunities for collaboration in Malaysia. If you want to know more about the climate crisis and what companies or schools can do, I also published a book that is available on Amazon or all the Amazon stores globally. And if you want, have a look. I thank you for your attention. I'm open the floor for questions and for interaction and for feedback. Climate change and addressing the climate crisis is a collective effort. That is not, a single man thing to do. That is a collective effort. So we love collaboration, we love partnerships, and we love to look forward to work with you, hopefully in the future. Back to you, Josh.
Thanks, Baz. Thanks for that information. Look, I mean, I've got to tell you, and this is a quick story, that the organization that I work for, apart from the Litter Club, which is our NGO, has just purchased a forest, an entire forest. Now, a forest is 1,000 trees. And we currently are running, we're running a competition within our organization, which is called Around the World in 80 Days. And that is getting all of the staff involved. There's 800 people involved at the moment, walking around the world, and we've actually did it in 25 days. Now, marketing said to us, well, we really want to maybe give everybody a drink bottle or something like that. And really, if that happened, they would have to fly drink bottles everywhere. They would have to deliver them to people's homes because everybody is there. But instead, they've bought an entire forest, and every person who has been part of that is now going to be rewarded with a tree from EcoMatcher. So this really shows how sustainable our company is in fighting climate change. We're saving so much by just not flying these things around. Have you got any stories like that where where organizations have used trees to give trees in that kind of manner?
You're asking me, Josh?
I am.
Oh man,
Yeah.
are you ready? Yes, we are working with Bang, with let's say a very famous company out of it's an American software company, starts with the letter M, right? So they have initially started to use tree gifting in, let's say, internal employee engagement fashion. They had like all kinds of competitions and they were rewarding people with trees. But they also have been gifting trees internally in their Asia operation across Asia. They have become so enthusiastic, a couple of people in their organization, that now actually they're also using trees as gifts for their customers and their who are, let's say, finishing a PowerPoint course. Now I revealed probably the name of the company, but those are the type of things they do. We also running programs in the Middle East where schools are adopting trees or planting a whole forest, gifting that to all their students. Students not only now can go to Instagram and YouTube, and they also now on their phone can check their tree and can compare the tree with the other student and have a little bit of a conversation about what type of tree have you, what type of tree I have, how is, where is your tree in the forest, and we bring them a little bit closer to nature. Um, we have companies using trees for reward reward programs, more in the professional space. You may have had yourself regular requests for participating in an online survey, and you probably wonder, why would I do that? Because there's nothing in for me. What those companies do, they now promise the respondent trees they planned on their behalf if they finish the survey. And so now they see a significant uptake of respondents participating in surveys because most of those respondents say, oh, you know what, if I spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes of my time, I can plant some trees. Why not? Right? And the trees will be instantly dispatched to the respondents after they finish the survey. So there is an happiness factor here involved. People are kind of, would love to contribute to building a better planet. And so are a few examples we have. We are helping companies and schools to increase customer satisfaction, increase employee engagement, and is a win-win for all. And the biggest win is for Mother Nature, because this Mother Nature needs more trees. And coming back to what you said earlier, Josh, you talked about regeneration. That's indeed very crucial. We need to regenerate the world. We need to rebuild the world because we have done collectively a lot of damage, and we still do a lot of damage, right?
Yeah, I agree totally because, obviously the Litter Club is very much here cleaning up the rubbish that we're producing on a day-to-day basis. And we go and do cleanups in Singapore and Malaysia every weekend. But we have to think of the future 10, 20, 30 years down the track. So we need to be forward thinking as well in what we do. I love the fact that I run a volunteer organization. I've known you now for around about 18 months, and only last month did we become an ambassador. But we met in the sense that I wanted to give volunteers in Singapore a tree, and this was when we launched the Litter Club back in Singapore. And it was fantastic. The volunteers who came and helped me to launch the Litter Club and attend the screening that we did, etc. I gave them all a tree, and they just thought it was incredible. And our relationship, I guess, has continued along that path. And the beauty I find about this is that it's transparent. And in this day and age, when everything is about sustainability and environmentalism, there is a lot of greenwashing. So there's a lot of organizations out there who are very happy to take your money and pull the wool over your eyes. But can you explain a little bit, not too technical, about what blockchain is and how that ensures that one tree, one person, you can't sell it twice, and all of that? Could you elaborate a little?
So last year, we got, because the size of our customers grew bigger, and also the potential and the trees to be planted for those customers were growing rapidly. And we got a few times, the hint or the feedback like, Bas, we trust what you do, but why are you not selling trees twice? Of course, we don't, because that would completely defeat the purpose, and it would one day come up and then we would fail. But it was a concern. So we decided to introduce blockchain. Blockchain is nothing else than a distributed ledger. So what we do is that that the data which we let's say produce is being stored in different, let's say, computer systems. So Bas now cannot anymore on Saturday evening, do some data crunching and copy trees and sell that again. That is not possible anymore. So every tree, every user can track on what we call the tree chain. tree chain is the EcoMatcher version of blockchain to make it completely transparent. So that's what we do, and it has been very, very well received. I think, to be frank, most people still, I think, don't understand what blockchain really is, because it's very much like a fashion word, like a buzzword. But for the larger companies, this makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, true. And it is a very secure system. So nobody can kind of hack in
No.
and do that. I had to go and do my research as to what blockchain was. I read it twice. I still didn't understand it. I watched a couple of YouTube things. It gradually sunk in, but wow,
Yes.
you know, it's incredible technology to make sure that everything is above the board. Hey, we mentioned schools, and you know, really for me, this is, you know, tree planting is about the future. You know, it's about our children and the next generation and the next generation, about us cleaning up the mess that we've already made and ensuring that, you know, the future for our kids looks brighter than what it currently does now. What kind of things around that whole kind of education thing in the schools do you think where EcoMatcher really sits?
Yeah. So if I look into the curriculum of schools today, and this varies, of course, across the board globally, but from what I can see, for example, here in Hong Kong and back in my home country, the Netherlands, the curriculum of schools around sustainability is pretty minimum still at this point in time. So not a lot of attention is being focused on, you know, climate change and what can we do, and prepare kids also for you know, contributing to a better future. What I position EcoMatcher in schools as, first of all, an initiative. We were a startup. We are a little bit bigger now, but we were a startup, an initiative everybody can undertake if you have the right mindset, if you have the right drive and passion. Even, you know, a student can do something and put something together. So we bring an example of what you could do around green tech. We are a typical example of green technology, of green tech. At the same time, getting kids closer to to nature, that's not so easy. If you know, we live in high rise. My wife calls Hong Kong high rise hell. You know, this is like concrete hell. It's only, we don't see a tree. We only see concrete. But so for kids, it's very difficult to be a little bit closer to nature. But if you have trees, for example, in the Philippines or in Uganda, and you can travel to your trees, you can talk about your trees, and you bring people a little bit closer to nature. And hopefully that changes the narrative of how kids perceive nature and can do something about that. So we have seen some very good examples and traction with international schools and local schools. They love the initiative. Prices of the trees, I mean, it's like less than a cup of coffee. It's really not the deal breaker. And they like the transparency and also the tech aspect. Kids are, and students are, of course, very tech savvy with all their iPhones and iPads, etc. So you need to bring something which is in their lane. And that's why this platform, according to the feedback we get, has so much, you know, interest and potential.
Cool. There's a question in the chat box. When will you start planting trees in Malaysia? And I think you kind of answered that a little bit in the near future.
Yes.
In which state would you be probably looking? And there's a question: would you consider East Malaysia and Sarawak, Sabah?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer yet. We are open for any type of organization who is in sustainable forestry, have a track record. And actually, I would say, if people on the call here have ideas about potential foundations or organizations in Malaysia, we will be more than happy to explore that together. I don't expect that this will happen before the summer. This is very much, let's say, second half of this year, because we are kind of like very busy onboarding foundations we already have vetted. But any suggestion from anybody on the call, very welcome. I have no preference.
Thanks, Baz. And it's funny we talk about that. I actually reached out to Dr. Glenn Reynolds today. Now he's part of CEPR, which is up in it's in from Tawau up in Sabah. and they do a lot of work around the rainforest. So I'm hoping there's some connections in there, because I think East Malaysia would be a fantastic location for us to do some replanting. There's a question also, does the type of tree differ from country to country? How do you make sure that we're planting the right trees?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic question. So we are now active in 9 different countries. And again, we're growing that to 12 in the next 6 weeks. Collectively, we are planting over 50 different species. So those are primarily indigenous species. We leave it to the foundation to plant the right species and the right tree at the right time at the right place. That's not our competence. My competence is not about tree planting, for example, in the Himalayas or in Peru or in Indonesia. Those foundations are being vetted because they have that competence. And so, but different species. We are planting teak, for example, in Albizia in Indonesia, mango trees in Uganda, and so forth. It's a significant number of trees. Yeah, all serve their local purpose.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. Now, here's the kicker. This is the question I've been waiting for. How much does it cost to plant a tree? Do we pay just once, or do you need to pay annually? And how long will each tree be cared for and its data updated?
Yes.
3 questions.
Yeah. First question. What was the first question? Is like
the first one's how much does it cost? And you said the same as a cup of coffee. Now, I went to Starbucks the other day and I bought a normal coffee. It cost me 18 ringgit. Yeah, Malaysian ringgit. It cost me 18 ringgit. So yeah, that's the question.
I cannot quickly translate it into US dollar, but it's probably costing of a tree is a single cost of $3.5 US per tree. So
okay, so that's less than 15 ringgit, and my coffee cost me 18. So you're on the money.
We're on the money. So it's affordable. Not for everybody, I recognize that, but for companies and for people, it's affordable. What you get, it's a one-off cost. We're not charging you on a monthly or yearly basis. The reason why we not do that is that we want to create volume. For us, this is a volume game. We want to collect with all the partners we have, plant many, many trees. The objective is to plant with EcoMatcher 1 billion trees by 2023. We are on our way, but we only can do that if this price point is kind of like acceptable. You can track the tree for forever, as long as EcoMatcher exists, and that will be for long. Trees are being taken care of the farmers themselves. People say, the farmer could, cut the tree after 2 years. Well, they could, but they don't, because first of all, a tree is worth nothing after 2 years. They have an agreement with foundations that they have to be in sustainable forestry. Most trees are producing something like fruits, like mango or avocado or something like that. So it is in the interest of the farmers to collect the fruits of the trees. So cutting the tree doesn't make any sense. Last, but certainly not least, in many, many places where we plant, like Indonesia, the land of farmers is very poor of quality. By replanting trees on their soil improves and they can use the land for other purposes. So it is in their own interest to take care of those trees. And I've seen it in Africa and in Himalayas, how people really treating trees very, very well. And what surprised me actually is that a lot of people, for example, in Uganda, people were actually more complaining and driving towards contributing to the climate crisis and doing something about it than maybe people from the Western world. They said it is our obligation to do something. And so we plant trees. It was pretty amazing. So hopefully that addresses some of the questions.
Yeah, and that makes real sense. Some benefits of trees. Here's some benefits of trees. They produce oxygen. They prevent soil erosion, which you just mentioned. They slow the water runoff. Trees reduce noise pollution. They combat climate change. They give you a habitat for wildlife. They cool the streets in cities. They give us medicine and they give us food. I mean, it's
the whole thing.
And it's simple, and coffee only gives you energy. for a short time.
Short time.
Hey,
Exactly.
there's a quick comment here that that obviously is around climate change, in the sense that you know, there's a heat wave started in Malaysia. Someone has just wanted to update us that the heat wave started on the north side. It's now travelled down to the bottom of Malaysia. Johore's in a stage 1 kind of at the moment. So you know, this is, you know, these are the effects that we're starting to feel because of what we've been doing to our planet. And, you know, they just change gradually. But if we don't stop now, you know, these are going to continue. And even if we do stop now, they're going to continue. So we don't want them to kind of get worse. Another last comment, because I know we're at the bottom of the hour now. Another last comment is Sarawak actually has been replanting new trees, and some of the logging companies a few years back are still doing the right thing as part, you know, as part of their CSR programs. Maybe we try and contact Sarawak Forestry Corporation and the timber industry and see if we can find out somebody in there who's doing it. Because I'm really feeling some excitement from the people on the call from Malaysia who are kind of going, hey, we want some trees planted in Malaysia. We love the fact that they're in the Philippines and Indonesia, etc. So we will work on that. But every tree, at the end of the day, let's not think of borders, because at the end of the day, wherever we plant our tree, it saves our planet. And you know, just by planting them in Malaysia is not going to save Malaysia, and the rest of the world is going to die. This is one planet. We're all together in this, and seriously, wherever we plant a tree, we make a difference.
Yes, absolutely.
Baz, I know we're at the bottom of the hour, and I really appreciate everybody who's been on the call and stayed with us, and thank you so much. Baz, a couple of final words from you.
Yes, I first of all, Josh, thank you for hosting me on your program, but also a big thank you for everybody. We had like 50 plus or so, I can see from on the list, people who have been on the call, didn't drop off halfway, like what a boring story. So thank you for your patience and enthusiasm. Again, as I said, addressing the climate crisis is a collective effort. If there is an opportunity to you know, to join hands and do something together, let's figure out how we can do that. The platform and the technology is there, and I look forward to hopefully one day again visit this fantastic part of the world called Malaysia. Huh?
Thanks, Baz. Thank you so much. Thank you for everybody for joining. Now, if you do have any questions, please direct them to the person who invited you to the webinar tonight. Otherwise, you can contact us through Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Just look up the Litter Club Project. You will find us there. You'll find all the fun things that we do. Now that MCO is almost over in Malaysia, we will be starting some cleanups here in Peninsular Malaysia, and we also want to be doing them also in East Malaysia. If you are keen to join us to be part of what we're doing, please also do that. Tonight is about trees. If you know anybody within the corporate or the education area that you think this would be a really good idea, please feel free to introduce them to us, to any of the team. On the call tonight, we've got Melissa, Amer, Lena, I think Jude's on Facebook Live. We've got Azim and all of the team here, or directly through to Baz, and he will know that it came from the Malaysia connection. Thank you all. Have a safe and wonderful weekend ahead. We've still got Friday, but it'll go fast. And thanks for joining us at the Litter Club and EcoMatcher. Baz, thank you so much for your time this evening, and good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.